Hello, this is Paige and Sarah here to share our semester-long experience for the final assignment of OCC 615. First of all, meet Grant. Grant is a friendly 5-year-old who is highly energetic and sociable. He lives at home in the suburbs of Chicago with his parents and 2 siblings. He really values his role as an older and younger brother. Grant loves to play outside with his older and younger siblings and is involved in many activities. His favorites include soccer, hockey, and baseball. He also loves riding his electric scooter. For screen time, Grant loves to watch Power Rangers and Paw Patrol. Grant has never received therapy services in the past. However, like many 5-year-olds, Grant has trouble regulating his emotions and high energy, which can impact his social participation in daily routines. We utilize the model of human occupation to guide our clinical reasoning with Grant. This model places significant emphasis on routines in the context of volition, habituation, and performance capacity. With Grant, we felt as though Moho would help us break down his routines when he is lacking motivation or when plans or patterns change unexpectedly. We also appreciated that Moho addresses one's mental abilities in the context of occupational performance. As Grant's executive functioning will not develop for quite some time, we wanted to help him learn, recognize, process, and then regulate his many emotions and thoughts across various contexts and situations. Lastly, we wanted Grant to learn to value occupations even when they do not interest him. We used a behavioral frame of reference to guide our clinical reasoning with Grant. This frame of reference is heavily shaped by the work of Skinner, who theorized that environmental factors shape all human behaviors. This is helpful given the context of our sessions via telehealth, where we can observe Grant in his natural environment. Given his strengths and motor skills, we want to focus our time on emotional and behavioral regulation. Grant's mom reported rigidity and reliance on routines, as well as how his behaviors are affected when things do not go as planned. She also said he has been responsive to reinforcement, coaching, and a disciplined environment, such as during sports practice. By using the behavioral frame of reference as a guide, we can find strategies involving positive reinforcement to promote positive behaviors and create new habits and routines. This frame of reference also supports the use of immediate negative reinforcement following non-desired emotional or behavioral responses. Ultimately, this frame of reference will help to support Grant in his development of emotional and behavioral regulation. For our first session, we had Grant's mother complete a screener beforehand, and we used our time together to complete a semi-structured interview. Again, we had Grant's mother complete the screener before the session. We selected the Strength and Difficulties questionnaire. This was completed through Parent Report. We chose to use this screener as it has a strong focus on behavioral attributes, which would help us better understand Grant's social-emotional functioning, impacting his social participation. Based off of Sarah's previous experience as Grant's babysitter, she mostly observed certain behavioral concerns with his occupational participation. After scoring this assessment, we found that pro-social behavior and interactions with peers are a strength for Grant. He is considerate of others, volunteers to help often, and is generally liked by other children. Grant experiences some difficulties with conduct and hyperactivity. His mother reports he is easily distracted, restless, and overactive. She also reports that he often loses his temper. For the Zoom session, we informally administered the FRED through a semi-structured interview. This helped us understand key takeaways regarding Grant's daily routines, current participation, and parent concerns. We were able to get a good picture of Graham's routine in the context of his families. Grant led most of the conversation by letting us know the parts of the day that he was excited about, such as meal times and playtimes, where his mom filled in the details regarding some of Grant's challenges. Some entertaining highlights that reflect Grant's fun-spirited energy are included in the slide. In the morning, Grant stated that he wakes up really late, probably after breakfast, and this was quickly denied by his mother. For his afternoon, Grant professed his love for Jimmy John's. It's the best, and we agree. In the evening, he eagerly shared that he gets to take baths with his little brother MJ. Grant is definitely a talker. Primary concerns for Mom were difficulties participating or responding appropriately to occupations Grant does not enjoy. For example, reading is not a preferred activity. He'd much rather participate in something with movement, such as sport activities. And in order for Grant to engage in the undesired tasks, there's often negotiation and pushback towards the authority figure. Grant evidently becomes upset and sometimes crying and begins being difficult to convince to participate in non-preferred activities. Session number 2 was fun, as we got to plan and observe Grant's participation in 2 activities. We used these opportunities for observation, which would inform our scoring for a formal assessment. The 2 activities we selected were a drawing activity followed by zoo yoga. First, we asked Grant to draw a picture of him playing in front of his new house. Upon completion, we asked Grant to explain the drawing, his decisions, and the thoughts about his new home, as we learned this is a big change that was causing both excitement and anxiety for him. We thought this would encourage Grant's emotional expression and regulation, while also observing his fine motor and visual motor skills. The second activity scheduled was animal yoga, guided by the image on the right and holding each pose for about 10 seconds. The session would end with 3 volcano breaths. We chose this activity because Grant is an active child and prefers to participate in motor activities. Yoga allows us to assess his motor skills and executive functioning, while also looking at his volition and process skills during the new activity. Grant was eager and excited to participate in both activities. As expected, he had high energy. Grant has a great tripod grasp as seen during the drawing activity. We also observed regular verbal cues and redirection from Mom to assist with his attention and completion of the task. One reminder was asking Grant what he was to draw after completing the house. The little guy in the front is Grant playing karate, and at the end he explained that he was getting crushed by the house, potentially indicative of his nerves surrounding this experience. For yoga, Grant was rather riled up, moving around in and out of the camera's frame. Following instruction from Paige, he would rush through the pose. When we asked him to count out loud to 10, he did so rapidly. Grant enjoyed the added movements to imitate the animals instead of holding the positions. During the bear pose, Grant made a frog sound, and we noted that his high energy limited his attention and focus to the yoga. Even during the volcano breaths, Grant rushed through without aligning his breaths with the movements. We chose to complete the scope assessment with Grant to gain a broad view of how his skills and daily routines and environment affect his occupational participation. Parent report and observation of the yoga and drawing activity provided us with data for this assessment. We found that Grant's motor and communication skills facilitate his ability to participate in most occupations. This was not a surprise for us, as he is very active and social. He displayed this by holding the plank for longer than Sarah and I were able to, and providing a high energy and verbal expression during these activities. He has a strong sense of volition, which is reflected by his exploration and expression of enjoyment. Grant is a very happy kiddo. His areas of development mostly surround his response to challenges, ability to transition, and his reliance on routines. These observations were supported by parent report and helped us pinpoint areas for Grant to gain the ability to work through these occupational barriers. Focusing on these areas helped us form approachable goals. Our first long-term goal for Grant is that Grant will independently transition to a non-preferred activity with 1 verbal prompt, 4 out of 5 opportunities to promote appropriate social engagement within 1 year. The corresponding short-term goal is that Grant will transition to a non-preferred activity with support from a visual schedule and 1 verbal prompt, 5 out of 5 opportunities within 3 months. We felt that focusing on Grant's transitions will increase his ability to participate in non-preferred occupations, which will be important as he transitions into a formal academic setting. This will also be beneficial for transitioning through non-preferred activities at home. Our second long-term goal for Grant is that Grant will independently initiate a self-calming technique when upset 4 out of 5 opportunities to improve social and play participation within 1 year. The corresponding short-term goal is that Grant will demonstrate a use of self-calming technique with assistance from a choice chart 3 out of 5 opportunities within 3 months. We felt that helping Grant gain self-regulation techniques will allow him to feel supported in times of dysregulation. He will hopefully feel a sense of autonomy in his ability to choose the technique from a choice chart that works best for him at the time. And our final long-term goal for Grant is that Grant will independently initiate and complete 3 chores using a chore chart 5 out of 7 opportunities to promote home management participation within 1 year. Short-term goal is that Grant will participate in 3 chores following demonstration from mom and or dad while utilizing a chore chart 3 out of 5 opportunities within 3 months. We felt that Grant's participation in chores was an appropriate IADL to introduce into his routines. While his mom reported that he does currently have certain chores that he completes, it would be beneficial for him to begin initiating these chores on his own. And here are our references. Thank you for tuning in and learning about our experience with Grant. Thank you.